I'm Joy McKnight, Transaction Banking and Payments Editor at Treasury Payments. We're here today at the International Chamber of Commerce's UK's Sustainability Conference in London. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Lord Karan Bilimoria. Thank you so much for joining us today, who is chair of the ICC UK. The conference's tagline today is Sustainable Global Supply Chain, Turning Ambitions into Action. What policy shifts or financial tools do you see as most critical in enabling sustainable trade? And then also, how is ICC really helping businesses lead that transition?
The ICC is the largest business organization in the world, the International Chamber of Commerce. 45 million businesses employing 1 billion people in 170 countries. And we have been very clear that sustainable trade is no longer a nice-to-have thing. It's a necessity for long-term economic growth and for resilience, for global competitiveness. But we need to move from short-term fixes to a consistent framework to enable policies along with financial tools. So governments must align trade and climate policy. And of course, the ICC is the trade organization in the world. We have a seat at the WTO and the UN, and particularly in the chaos that's been caused in the world today with tariff wars, barriers being put up, it's all the more important that we, as the ICC, lead the way to make sure we continue on a rules-based, multilateral trading system, promote globalization, and also align trade and climate policy, because there's so many mixed signals. We need regulatory certainty, not policy U-turns, because business needs that confidence to invest in clean technologies and sustainable supply chains. And of course, access to finance is absolutely crucial. And where better than London, which is the headquarters of green finance. And it's not going to be, this whole transition is not going to happen without scalable and bankable projects. So we at the ICC are championing tools like SDG-aligned finance frameworks, the green finance taxonomies to unlock capital for businesses. And in particular, we must make sure that SMEs are not left behind. And the third thing is that we need better data. We need more consistent metrics, ESG metrics. And I've always believed that what gets measured gets done. And we're at the ICC helping to establish a globally aligned carbon accounting principles, assurance systems, but they have to be credible and they have to be, most importantly, practical. And that's the whole theme of this conference that we're holding today, is not to talk about platitudes, but to talk about actionable outcomes.
Well, I just wanted to ask another question, which I think is on a lot of people's minds, which is how can we ensure that new climate-related trade measures, as you've outlined, such as carbon pricing and ESG standards, avoid becoming forms of like green protectionism, and instead then support, as you pointed out, that fair, inclusive growth?
Yes, I mean, see, if we get the policy and finance architecture right, businesses will lead and sustainable trade will become not just possible, but profitable. And new trade measures have to balance the environmental ambition, but also with fairness. And there's a growth risk with well-intended climate tools. I mean, for example, the CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or ESG standards, they could inadvertently entrench inequality or create trade barriers. And people criticize CBAMs for this reason, and especially for developing economies. So we've got to ensure that these instruments, which are very well intentioned, support, not distort, inclusive global trade. So firstly, to enable this to happen, you've got to have climate measures that are transparent, that are credible, that are designed with fairness in mind. And the voluntary carbon market, for example, holds huge potential for unlocking private finance. And that will accelerate climate action, but only if it's governed with integrity. And the ICC has made clear that a robust framework of standards and certification, the core carbon principles, and the VCMI, sorry about the acronym, the VCMI Claims Code of Practice is absolutely essential in enabling this to happen. So the ICC's 2024 report on voluntary carbon markets highlights the need for clear, enforceable standards, and these then build trust and prevent market distortion. They call for greater international cooperation to harmonize rules and avoid duplication, and also credible tools for corporate actors so that businesses can engage in global decarbonization without confusion, regulatory confusion. So, I mean, the ICC is very clear that businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and exporters in developing markets are not squeezed out by ESG frameworks they can't afford to comply with. And we need to keep these climate tools accessible, flexible, scalable. And to conclude, the answer to climate change is not isolation in green clothing. It's collaboration, it's trust, it's inclusive growth. And the ICC is committed to ensuring climate measures lift all economies, not just the wealthiest.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your insights, Lord Bilimoria.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much.